And good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 from Monday, September the 4th, 2023. Hopefully everyone has had a really wonderful Labor Day weekend, enjoyed having that extra day off, and are raring to go to jump back in and see what the month of September and the balance of the quarter is going to deliver to us. Beginning here with the NASDAQ, I'm going to start with my preferred count, which has not changed. So again, I'm starting on the hourly chart. And well, I'll just do a quick review. How about that? On the 4-hour chart, we can see that I'm continuing to label the August highs, the July highs at 16,062 as the completion point for that primary B wave. And underneath that, it would have been an intermediate wave C, a minor wave 5, and a minute wave 5. That all completing in July. From that point, we have put in 5 waves down, and that then takes us to the August 18th low at 14,609, and that did put in the first wave of minor degree down. So it's minor wave 1. Setting the stage for a minor wave 2 corrective bounce. And within that, we've had a minute wave A, minute wave B, and we're sitting inside of a minute wave C, which may be complete. Dropping back down to the hourly chart, it is possible it's sloppy, it's strange, it has a lot of overlap, it's got everything that you don't want to see, but it does. It is able to kind of put together to say, well, we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sloppy and as nasty as it looks, it may be acceptable. Now, what as on the outside that it also could be is that the market is indeed going to be forming a diagonal triangle, in which case all of the internal waves within this minuet wave 5 would be 3 waves. So then we would say this is wave 1. And then we're putting in a wave 2. Whether that all completed wave 2 and we're now starting into a third, yet to be determined. But here's the catch. If indeed this is complete, it certainly kicked off. Now this would be right after, just prior to the opening. On Friday, the market ran up, pushed to a slight new high for the sequence for wave C, and that kind of capped it off, in my opinion. It could have, and it kicked off in exactly the fashion in which we would be looking for, and that is a very hard rejection of that level and a hard sell. Now, the problem is that it kind of stopped, and then we went into the expiration, and the market closed, and then just kind of, just has walked its way up, starting in yesterday's start of Globex session, and then again selling off towards midway through the session. So again, early this morning, 10 o'clock Eastern, market did a reversal, came down to the session lows, and then just kind of bounced around a little bit. Now, could this be wave 1 of this new, right? If we're going to put this as the completion point for minor wave 2, then we're beginning a minor third wave down. And as I have been describing, it should kick off by just starting to decline and not really looking back. So in other words, and it did, the kickoff was right in line with that, got caught up in the expiration. And then again, with the market, with the holiday today, the market was extremely just directionless and with an upward bias all the way through both the Asian and the European sessions, selling off right at the end of the European session. Now, whether that actually is going to follow through as we get ready to move into Globex now, yet to be seen. So if indeed this is complete, then I'm going to be looking forward to start dropping, breaking cleanly back below the 50, holding below the 50, start heading towards the hourly 200 EMA and SMA, which are at 15,330 and 15,270. If those get broken, then it pretty much was going to be really giving us enough support that the minor wave 2 should be complete. Now, again, We had that situation here. Well, it definitely looked like that completed minor wave 2, and we were dropping like a stone until we didn't. And then the market just turned and it ran. So there it would fit. Here, if it comes all the way down and manages to rally itself all the way back, it's really going to likely be more convincing that we are indeed likely putting in what will end up being for under the alternate view, a excuse me, a diagonal triangle for minor wave 5. Again, I'll go over that in just a minute. My preferred count remains the same. So we are beginning to just turn, as we saw on Friday, and there really wasn't anything that you could say like, oh, it's that reason, that's reason, which would go with the narrative that currently is being spun, that the market is going to have to start looking for its clues as to what if the Fed is going to or not do. Are they going to raise? Are they going to pause? Are they going to raise? Are they going to rise? That is really where the narrative is going to shift to. And we're going to be hearing all kinds of stuff leading up to that. So, the argument then becomes, is or has the Fed reached its point where they're feeling that the rate hikes are going to begin to taper off, or they're done with the rate hikes and are pleased with the data that is showing that inflation supposedly has now come under control. Now, we already know from the Jackson Hole summit meeting, which again was at the end of August, that Chairman Powell continued to tell us that there are that inflation has and remains problematic, and that while they are seeing some cracks in it, they are seeing some improvement via the numbers, and that the job market remains robust, employment remains robust right now, except suddenly we're seeing that possible inflation, wage inflation, has been maybe relieved. And again, it's 1 month, it's 1 week. And so, to say that that's enough is kind of, to me, really inconclusive. And I'm not going to bet the dollar on that, or bet, the store, whatever you want to call it, on that fact that, oh yeah, that's enough evidence. And so we're just going to keep going up, up and up. I don't see that. So again, within the preferred count, I am, if this spot on Friday did not mark the completion point for minor wave 2, then we still likely have some additional upside to do. But this really came in too far with minor wave 5, minuet wave 5 kicking off of 15,374. So we've gotten as low as 15,458. So we're getting within 70, 80 points of where it shouldn't break and still be considered a minuet wave 5. So that's my point. If this is how we're going to count it, unless this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is all 5 or 3, 4, that the 3 gets moved up to here, which we've had to do in the past, and then this becomes wave 4. Then there's a possibility we still got that rally yet to come. So all in all, what the point of all this is, it's like, yes, that could be the completion point. This is what we look for if it is. If not, then we have the possibility that the 3 is going to actually complete it here, the 4 completes there, and now we're beginning the minuet wave 5. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Again, continued downside, and if it gets strong, we likely won't have support until 15,450, and then 375, 336, and then right underneath that, the 200s, which is 15,330, 15,270, and then we do have some fib support at 15,251. And again, starting to break below 15,100, 200 to 100 is going to give a lot of strength to the fact that that move is over and we're now dropping inside the third. Okay, let me go over and just take a look at the alternate, because the alternate's a little bit different. So again, here it's not as problematic as it is in the S&P, and I'll get to that in a minute. So if this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is 1, and this is 2, then we're inside that third, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So is that the third? Very possible. Very possible. And then we're in that fourth wave. So again, if I'm seeing this in the cash market, is it possible that in that C wave, it's 1, 2, and this is the 3? Yes, as I explained. Yes, it is. We need the market to give us confirmation one way or the other. So that remains out there. Now, let me put this out to the 4 hour, and we're going to be looking at what is our potential that we're going to be looking at here and right there. So right now we're kind of bouncing around the 0.618, which actually should not come into play just yet. It can later, but we're already surpassing it, so it likely should just be removed. So we'd be looking for equality. Equality would put us to a new high and also comes in at 16,051. Cash market, this is cash market, folks. So, and then above that, it's 1.618, and that's coming in at 16,900, which puts us into irregular territory. And I'm not necessarily considering that just yet. So, but we get a 3, a 4, and a 5, and we could be up here pretty quickly. Now, that still remains alive. I'm getting a lot of people that are telling me that, well, this compared to that just doesn't pan out. And it's like, I know it doesn't, but this is not breaking any rules. And there isn't any rule that wave 4 cannot be larger or more complex than wave 2. Usually wave 2 is going to be, in terms of retracement, larger than that fourth wave. But this third wave was very extended. So in reality, it's not really all that big. So it remains alive. Does not necessarily suggest that it's kicking in and going to become the preferred. That has not been determined. And unfortunately, we're going to have to get above this high in order to determine that. And the cash market, 15,932 would be that. Okay, over in the S&P, we might as well just start with that SPX right now. Oops, get rid of that and go over here. It's the same story, but here, it's not as clean. I can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. I can do it. I'm not real clean with it, so I'm not fond of it, but I could put a 1 and a 2 here, and then I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. I could put a 3 here. Now, here we have 100%, where minor wave 5 would equal 100% of minor wave 1 at 45.65. That high is 46.08. The next above that equality comes in at 47.08, still below the 4,800 marker, which is the all-time high for the SPX and the ES. So if we get enough of a push above this, we still need to get above 46.08. Then we've broken above the high of minor wave 3. Again, this is the alternate count. Now, it is still alive, and it still could fit. And it may happen in the S&P and not the NASDAQ. So again, we've got some dichotomy going on between our indexes in terms of, a lot of it are the same stocks. Why aren't they just really putting in the same type of dynamics? And it's like, well, because there's certain things in each one that are driving it. Unfortunately, a lot of those stocks that are in the NASDAQ are also in the S&P, so we get those similar moves. So this still is alive and well. There's our resistance points coming off. If indeed it starts to really break down, what can't it do? It can't go below 45, 44, 50, 50, 58, basically. That is where, if this is a 4 coming off, it would overlap wave 1, and then you can't do that, nullifies the count. So we're getting to a point where it's either going to go up, get itself above 46.08, to complete, or it drops down. If this is done in terms of an ABC and it drops down and starts breaking below 44.58, not just by a couple of ticks, it breaks it and keeps going, then it's going to invalidate this alternate view. So over in the ES, which is where I am putting my preferred count, I continue to look at the high at 46.08 being the completion point for primary wave B. We have completed minor wave 1 down of intermediate wave 1 of primary wave C, all going down. And we're now completing or getting ready to complete a C wave within, excuse me, minor wave 2. Now, not as clean here as it was in the NASDAQ, which brings me to, excuse me, a point where it's going to be, it can definitely be wave 4 here. It was quick up, quick down, and then rallied back. But it might be easier to put the 3 there, the 4 yet to be determined here, not in yet. And then we still get a 5th wave up to complete minor wave 2. So we've got ABC, a wave 5 of that C wave, a minuet wave 5 of a minute C wave to complete the minor wave 2. And what can it possibly do? Well, if we've got a minuet wave 5 here, we've got 45.82 to 45.93, I believe that is. 45.82. Oh, it's all in the same place. So let's just say 45.82 to 85. That would be an area that has for wave C and also for minuet wave 5. Now, again, if the 3 goes here and the 4 is going to come here, this will be adjusted over. But let's say it does come back to like 45.01. It's going to be the same levels. And so if this is 3 and that's 4, and then we get a 5, then we're going to be looking for this to kind of come in and continue. So Globex just opened in here, and we see that the NASDAQ continues to basically inch its way higher, not really going beyond what it did earlier. Again, this is all just on, I think, what, now a lot more of the U.S. firms coming in, getting online to get themselves situated from expiration on Friday and to be able to move and get ready for tomorrow's opening. So S&P's down a little bit at 45.20. So again, if it comes down and it can hold like 45.01 or above the 50, 44.87, additional support coming in at the 200 EMA, which is a 44.78. So our support coming off 45.01, then it drops down to 44.87, 44.80 or 79. We go right there, 79. And then we have, this is the SMA, the 50 SMA at 78. So we have from 87 to 78 or 77. We've got a nice little cluster of support. So if this wants to put in a wave 4, if this 3 goes up here and it puts a 4 in down to here, then we're going to leave it the room that it can get itself up to 45.82 to complete. First in line, though, is 45.51. That remains where, and that's based on this level holding. So if this level changes, it's going to change the dynamic of where the clusters are going to form. So right now, that's saying that 45.01 holds, and our first level is 45.51 as resistance. A break below 45.01, it needs to be adjusted, and that would be this fib right in here. And that would have to be adjusted. But it also would suggest we're going to go down into this cluster. So then I would run my fibs here to here and over to here to get that cluster of where we think that this final move up will come in for the S&P. Right now, 45.51, 45.82, 1.618 again for the minuet. And that's if 45.01 holds, comes in at 46.32. So right now we have 45.80 to 45.85 as a cluster area of resistance. And that's for the minuet 5, and that's also for the minute C. So they kind of pair up right in here, and I would imagine that they may continue to, and we'd be looking for that to hold and complete this ABC minor wave 2. Outside 46.32. All right. So that's really going to wrap it up for today. Again, next week, in terms of what we're going to be seeing in terms of any economic news, we have factory orders on Tuesday. So tomorrow we have factory orders at 10 a.m. And then on Wednesday at 8:30, we have U.S. trade deficit. We have at 9:45, the S&P final USM services. ISM services index comes out at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And then the Fed beige book. Fed beige book used to have a lot of power in being a market mover. Whether it still does, we will find out on Wednesday. Thursday, we're back to initial jobless claims, U.S. productivity, and unit labor costs, both 8:30 a.m. Philly Fed President Patrick Harker speaks. Chicago, Austin Goolsbee speaks at 11:45. John Williams speaks at 3:30, and Ralph Bostic speaks at 3:45. So it is Fed week. Oh, and then we have some in the evening. Everybody's out. Everybody is out next week, talking away. So, and then Friday, the only thing we really have is wholesale inventories and consumer credit, and the San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly talking as well. So all the Fed are going to be out there tooting. And that could move the market because everyone is leaning in, going to try to decipher any clue in their language or what they're saying is going to give them enough power to say, you're not going to raise, we're going to pause, et cetera, et cetera. So those could be very powerful. In any case, again, hope you have a great balance of the day today and had a great weekend. Next update will be on Tuesday, September the 5th.